morning, happy Tuesday. Welcome back to another daily dose of the Word. We are diving in today into Proverbs 3. We're not going to do the whole of Proverbs 3. We're going to do verses 1 through 12. The whole thing is 35 verses, but I feel like 1 through 12 has plenty enough in there for us to pull from and think through. So we're just going to look at that today. So let me go ahead and start us off by reading it. Like I said, Proverbs 3, 1 through 12. You can go ahead and flip there real quick and follow along. Starting in verse 1. My son, do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments. For length of days and years of life and peace they will add to you. Let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Bind them around your neck, write them on the tablet of your heart, so you will find favor and good success in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. It will be healing to your flesh and refreshment to your bones. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline or be weary of his reproof. For the Lord reproves him whom he loves, as a father the son in whom he delights. Now, as I read through this a few times, there is plenty in these first 12 verses that we can take away from this text. And I would encourage you all to think through some way that you can apply this specifically to your own lives. I'm going to give you three sections of these first 12 verses that stood out to me that I felt like the Lord kind of laid on my heart. But again, I wouldn't limit it to this in terms of what this text is speaking to us. I think we could truthfully pull lots of stuff out of here. But I would encourage you all to think through ways that you can specifically apply this to yourselves, as well as I'm striving to think through how I can apply this to myself. So the first thing that stood out to me was verses 3 and 4. Verses 3 and 4. It says, let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. So you will find favor and good success in the sight of God and man. And as I thought through kind of on a daily basis how I'm meant to be living out my life, what the Lord's calling me into, and how I'm supposed to be living for him, I find it interesting that these words steadfast love and faithfulness are used here. In fact, what was in particular interesting is in my own quiet time, in my own Bible reading this morning, I was reading in Exodus. And I've been reading through my Reader's Edition, so it doesn't have verse references. So I didn't initially put this together, but in the footnotes of my Bible, it notes in this section when it talks about verse 3:3, it talks about how in verse, in Exodus 34:6, when God is describing his own character to Moses, he uses the phrase abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. And I thought that was really interesting because I read that this morning in my quiet time in Moses. And so this one particularly stood out to me, the reality of living in steadfast love and faithfulness. In fact, he says, let them not forsake you, right? Let them not leave you. And I love the analogy he gives. He says, bind them around your neck, write them on the tablet of your heart. The first thing that came to mind was like a scarf, right? And when we put a scarf on, you don't just lay a scarf over your shoulders because it'll loosely hang there and it'll easily fall off. No, you bind it around your neck. You wrap it around a few times so that it remains there. And I think it's the same thing that's being described here. When we talk about steadfast love and faithfulness, as we walk those out in the day, we're called to bind them around our neck so that they don't fall off, so that they're constantly being lived out. And the reason for why he says that, right, in verse 4, the reason is that so you will find favor and good success, not only in the eyes of men, but also in the eyes of God, right? Also in the eyes of God. And in fact, even if we live in steadfast love and faithfulness throughout the day, we're not guaranteed that we will find favor and success in the eyes of men. Oftentimes we won't. But I think one thing we can take assurance in is knowing that we will find those in the eyes of God. And I think that's what we live towards. So thinking through today, how can we live in steadfast love towards other people? Steadfast meaning constant, right? Always loving other people. And the second word being faithful. So how can we live in love and faithfulness towards other people today, towards friends, towards family, towards siblings, whoever it may be? Begin to think through that. Who are people in your life that you are feeling called to steadfastly love? In my journal today, I've been writing down checklists of things that I want to strive to do to live for the glory of God. And the last thing that I wrote down was to love anyone that God puts in my life today. So whether that's a phone call that comes in, a text message that I received, or someone reaching out, or someone I come across on the street, I pray that I can love them and honor and glorify God through that. The second section that I thought really stood out was verses 5 through 8. And a lot of people know verses 5 and 6, right? But I feel like 7 and 8 tie well to it. Let's read them again real quick. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord, and turn away from evil. It will be healing to your flesh and refreshment to your bones. This again is just this reality of casting our anxieties on him and releasing them. And I like how it finishes with saying that this will be healing to our flesh and refreshment to our bones. I struggle so mightily with this daily, taking my own worries, my own struggles, and feeling the burden of them on myself rather than trusting in God's plans and what he's up to. And my encouragement to you all would be today and tomorrow and the next day after that, let us walk in trusting in the Lord and knowing that he is faithful to us, right? And the more faithfully we can walk in that, the more refreshment we will feel from that. So take whatever is weighing you down today and strive to cast it on him and walk in his paths and trust in his plan rather than your own. The last thing which kind of ties to this is verses 11 and 12, which says, My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline or be weary of his reproof. For the Lord reproves him whom he loves, as a father the son in whom he delights. This verse, or these two verses, for me in particular, are such a great reminder, right? They might not always make me feel exponentially better in the moment as I walk through reproof or difficulty, as I walk through times of pain and hurt, but they are a reminder to me that that pain that I'm experiencing, the hurt that I'm experiencing, the difficulties that I'm facing are not because God is judging me or frustrated with me or annoyed with me. They're because he is showing his love towards me, right? The Lord reproves him whom he loves, as a father the son in him whom he delights, right? So we know that when we're walking through difficult times, the Lord is allowing those things to shape us, to grow us, to mold us, but also to display his love towards us because he wants us to be brought into his presence. So if you're facing a difficult time today, I pray that you cast those anxieties onto God, that you walk in his paths, that you remember that he loves you and that he's wanting you to draw near to him. Hopefully Proverbs 3 verses 1 through 12 is an encouragement to you today. I know it was for me, and I look forward to hearing what ways you can begin to apply this to your own life. Happy Tuesday. Hope it's a great one for you all. Peace.